China punching back on trade, announcing plans for tariffs on about $60 billion of U.S. goods. This as Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross ramps up the rhetoric. In an interview with Fox Business, Ross saying, quote, "We have to create a situation where it's more painful for them to continue their bad practices than it is to reform." Joining us now from the White House is Kevin Cirilli, Bloomberg chief Washington correspondent. Kevin, I feel like I say this every morning. It's hard to keep up. But this morning, it was especially difficult to keep up with what's going on.
China hits back. More than $60 billion worth of tariffs, Jonathan, is what the Chinese are saying they're going to be imposing as a response to the announcement that the administration is readying to increase tariffs of their own. Now, the Chinese are saying that they're going to increase this anywhere from 5% to 25%. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross on Fox Business Network earlier saying, quote, "The reason for the tariffs to begin with was to try and convince the Chinese to modify their behavior. Instead, they have been retaliating. So the president now feels that it's potentially time to put more pressure on." So that's a clear signal, Jonathan, that this is only going to intensify. If you take a look at what the administration's been saying, that 25% versus the 10% on tariffs of more than $200 billion worth of goods, from the fruits and vegetables to poultry, as well as to metals and seafoods. All of this comes also at a time in which the energy sector, Jonathan, has also been increasingly being lumped into these trade negotiations. And I would just note, the U.S. has not been able to persuade China to cut Iranian oil imports, but China has agreed not to ramp up the purchases of Iranian crude oil. But again, all of this comes at a time in which the markets are really looking for some type of guidance on what the final endpoint will be between the U.S. and China trade talks.